Imagine a time of intense power struggles, epic battles, and political intrigue. A time when one man's ambition could change the fate of an entire empire. Welcome to the world of Lucius Cornelius Sulla, one of the most fascinating figures in ancient Roman history. In this video, we'll uncover the rise and fall of Sulla, the military genius and ruthless dictator who left a lasting mark on Rome. Lucius Cornelius Sulla was born into a patrician family around 138 BC. Though his family was noble, they were not wealthy. Sulla grew up with little money, but he had big ambitions. His early life was filled with struggles, but these hardships shaped him into a strong and determined young man. Sulla's military career began with his service in North Africa. He served under Gaius Marius, a brilliant general and future rival. Sulla showed exceptional skill and bravery, quickly rising through the ranks. His greatest early success came during the Jugurthine War. Sulla's cunning strategy led to the capture of King Jugurtha, earning him fame and respect in Rome. The Jugurthine War, fought between Rome and King Jugurtha of Numidia, was a significant conflict that highlighted Sulla's military prowess. This war took place from 112 to 105 BC and was marked by its complexity and the challenges it posed to the Roman army. Jugurtha, a cunning and ambitious leader, had seized control of Numidia through a series of bold moves and assassinations. His actions threatened Rome's influence in North Africa. Initially, the Roman Senate underestimated Jugurtha, believing him to be a minor threat. However, Jugurtha's ability to bribe Roman officials and his tactical skill on the battlefield soon proved otherwise. Sulla played a crucial role as a questor under Gaius Marius during this conflict. One of Sulla's most notable achievements was the negotiation with King Bocchus V of Mauritania, Jugurtha's father-in-law and ally. Sulla's diplomatic skills convinced Bocchus to betray Jugurtha, leading to Jugurtha's capture in 105 BC. This victory was a turning point in Sulla's career. It showcased his ability to combine military strategy with diplomacy. The capture of Jugurtha not only ended the war, but also boosted Sulla's reputation in Rome, setting the stage for his future political and military ambitions. The Cimbrian War was a critical period in Roman history, marking a series of intense conflicts between the Roman Republic and the migrating tribes of the Cimbri, Teutones, and their allies. This war, which took place from 104 to 101 BC, significantly impacted Rome's military and political landscape, and Lucius Cornelius Sulla played a noteworthy role during this tumultuous time. The war began when the Cimbri and Teutones, Germanic tribes from the northern regions of Europe, began migrating southwards, searching for new lands. Their movements brought them into direct conflict with the Roman Republic. The initial encounters were disastrous for Rome, with major defeats at the Battle of Noria in 113 BC and the Battle of Arausio in 105 BC, where Roman forces suffered massive casualties. Sulla, serving under Gaius Marius, was a key figure during these campaigns. Marius, having been appointed as consul multiple times to deal with the threat, implemented significant military reforms to improve the effectiveness of the Roman legions. These reforms included changes in recruitment, training, and organization, which ultimately contributed to Rome's success in the later stages of the war. One of the turning points in the Cimbrian War was the Battle of Aquae Sextiae in 102 BC. Here, Marius, with Sulla's support, decisively defeated the Teutones. This victory was followed by another major triumph at the Battle of Vercellae in 101 BC, where the Roman forces, again under the command of Marius and with Sulla's assistance, crushed the Cimbri. These victories effectively ended the threat posed by the migrating tribes and secured Rome's dominance in the region. Sulla's role in the Cimbrian War, although overshadowed by Marius's leadership, was nonetheless significant. His experiences and successes during these campaigns further established his military reputation and set the stage for his future political and military career. The Cimbrian War not only showcased the effectiveness of the newly reformed Roman legions, but also highlighted the emerging rivalry between Marius and Sulla, a conflict that would later erupt into a full-blown civil war. Back in Rome, Sulla entered the chaotic world of Roman politics. He was elected praetor in 97 BC and then served as governor of Cilicia, where he displayed his talents in administration and warfare. In 88 BC, Sulla achieved the pinnacle of his political career. He was elected consul, the highest office in the Roman Republic. However, Sulla's rise to power was not without conflict. His relationship with Marius, once his mentor, had turned into a bitter rivalry. The power struggle between these two men would soon plunge Rome into chaos. The First Roman Civil War, fought between 88 and 82 BC, was a significant conflict that pitted Lucius Cornelius Sulla against his former mentor and rival, Gaius Marius, along with their respective supporters. This civil war was a critical turning point in Roman history, marking the first time a Roman general led his troops against the city of Rome itself, an unprecedented act that shattered the traditional norms of Roman political and military conduct. The seeds of the civil war were sown in the complex political and social dynamics of late Republican Rome. The primary catalyst for the conflict was the bitter rivalry between Sulla and Marius, two of Rome's most prominent military leaders. This rivalry was exacerbated by their competing ambitions and differing political affiliations, with Sulla aligning with the Optimates, the conservative senatorial faction, and Marius with the Populares, the more populist and reformist faction. In 88 BC, Sulla was elected consul and was given command of the Roman forces against King Mithridates VI of Pontus, who was challenging Roman authority in Asia Minor. However, Marius, still influential despite his advanced age, sought to reclaim military glory and persuaded the popular assembly to transfer the command to him. This move was seen by Sulla and his supporters as a blatant overreach by the popular and an affront to the authority of the Senate. In response to the transfer of command, Sulla made a bold and unprecedented decision. He marched his legions on Rome. This was the first time a Roman general had taken such an action, and it sent shockwaves through the Republic. Sulla's forces quickly took control of the city, and Marius and his followers were forced to flee. Sulla's occupation of Rome was brutal. He enacted proscriptions, targeting and executing many of Marius's supporters and anyone he perceived as a threat to his power. These actions not only eliminated his immediate opposition, but also instilled fear throughout Rome, demonstrating Sulla's willingness to use extreme measures to achieve his aims. After securing his position in Rome, Sulla departed for the east to confront Mithridates. During his absence, Rome fell into chaos. Marius returned with an army, seized control of the city, and initiated his own bloody purge against Sulla's supporters. Marius's death in 86 BC did little to stabilize the situation, as his ally, Lucius Cornelius Sulla, continued the pro-Marian policies and maintained control over Rome. Sulla, meanwhile, achieved significant successes against Mithridates, reasserting Roman dominance in the region. With Mithridates subdued, Sulla turned his attention back to Rome. In 83 BC, he landed in Brundisium, modern Brindisi, with his veteran legions and began a campaign to retake the city. Sulla's return to Italy marked the beginning of a series of brutal and decisive battles. His legions, experienced and loyal, faced off against the forces loyal to the Marian faction, now led by Gnaeus Papirius Carbo and the young Gaius Marius the Younger. The conflict saw several key engagements. Battle of the Colline Gate, this was one of the decisive battles of the war, fought in 82 BC near Rome. Sulla's forces achieved a hard-fought victory, which effectively secured his control over the capital. Battle of Sacriportus, earlier in 82 BC, Sulla defeated the Marian forces under the command of Marius the Younger near Praeneste. This victory allowed Sulla to march on Rome unopposed. Siege of Praeneste, following the Battle of Sacriportus, Marius the Younger retreated to the fortified town of Praeneste. Sulla's forces laid siege to the town, eventually capturing it and resulting in the death of Marius the Younger. With the defeat of the Marian forces, Sulla's control over Rome was uncontested. He declared himself dictator, a position he used to implement widespread reforms and exact revenge on his enemies. The proscriptions, lists of individuals marked for execution, were a particularly notorious aspect of his rule. Hundreds of Romans were killed, and their properties were confiscated, which allowed Sulla to reward his supporters and strengthen his political base. The First Civil War had profound implications for the Roman Republic. It shattered the traditional constraints on the use of military power within Rome, setting a precedent for future conflicts. Sulla's actions demonstrated that a determined general could use military force to seize political power, undermining the republican institutions. Furthermore, Sulla's dictatorship and the subsequent reforms he enacted reshaped the political landscape of Rome. While his intent was to restore the power of the Senate and stabilize the republic, the brutality of his methods and the concentration of power in his hands ultimately contributed to the continued erosion of republican norms. The Civil War and Sulla's dictatorship paved the way for future military leaders, such as Julius Caesar, to follow a similar path, leading to the eventual transition from republic to empire. After seizing control of Rome in 82 BC, Sulla declared himself dictator. Unlike previous dictators who typically held office for a limited term during emergencies, Sulla had himself appointed Dictator legibus faciendis et republicae constituende causa, meaning dictator for making laws and for the reconstitution of the state. This extraordinary title granted him unlimited power without a time limit, breaking with Roman tradition and setting a new precedent. Sulla's primary goal as dictator was to restore and stabilize the Roman Republic, which he believed had been undermined by populist politicians and weakened institutions. To achieve this, he enacted a series of political reforms aimed at strengthening the Senate and curbing the power of the popular assemblies. 1. Expansion of the Senate. Sulla increased the number of senators from around 300 to 600, filling the new seats with his supporters. This not only diluted the influence of his enemies, but also ensured a loyal base for his legislative agenda. 2. Curtailed power of the tribunes. The tribunes of the plebs had become powerful figures who could challenge the Senate and propose radical reforms. Sulla stripped the tribunes of most of their powers, including their ability to initiate legislation and veto Senate decisions. He also made it nearly impossible for tribunes to advance to higher political offices, thereby reducing their appeal as a career path. 3. Reorganization of the courts. Sulla reformed the judicial system by establishing new permanent courts, questions perpetuate, to handle specific types of crimes, such as murder, treason, and electoral corruption. These courts were staffed by senators, reinforcing the Senate's control over the legal system. 4. Senatorial control of the magistracies. Sulla enacted laws requiring that all major magistrates, including consuls and praetors, had to serve as quaestors first, ensuring they had senatorial experience before assuming higher office. He also reinforced the cursus honorum, the sequential order of public offices, to maintain a structured political career path. In addition to his political changes, Sulla implemented economic and social reforms to address the underlying issues that had contributed to the Republic's instability. 1. Land reforms. Sulla redistributed land to his veterans, settling them in colonies throughout Italy. This policy was intended to reward his loyal soldiers and strengthen his political base. However, it also led to displacement and resentment among the existing rural population. 2. Proscriptions. One of Sulla's most notorious measures was the proscriptions, a series of state-sanctioned executions of his enemies. Those listed in the proscriptions were declared outlaws, their properties confiscated, and rewards offered for their capture or death. The proscriptions instilled fear and allowed Sulla to eliminate political rivals while enriching his supporters. Sulla's reforms had a profound impact on the Roman Republic. By concentrating power in the Senate and weakening popular institutions, Sulla hoped to create a more stable and oligarchic government. However, his methods were brutal, and the use of violence and terror to achieve political ends left a legacy of fear and resentment. Sulla's dictatorship also set a dangerous precedent for future leaders. His use of the army to seize power and his disregard for traditional limits on authority paved the way for later figures like Julius Caesar, who would similarly use military force to achieve political dominance. In an unprecedented move, Sulla voluntarily resigned from his dictatorship in 79 BC and retired to his villa in Campania. He believed that he had accomplished his goals and that the Republic was secure. Sulla died the following year in 78 BC, but the impact of his actions endured. Sulla's legacy is complex. While he succeeded in temporarily restoring order and strengthening the Senate, his brutal tactics and concentration of power sowed the seeds of future conflicts. The Republic he sought to save continued to experience turmoil, eventually leading to its transformation into the Roman Empire. Sulla remains a controversial figure, remembered both for his military genius and his ruthless pursuit of power. Sulla's life was a story of ambition, power, and ruthless determination. From his early struggles to his rise as a military leader and dictator, Sulla left an indelible mark on Roman history. His legacy is a testament to the complexities of power and the lengths to which one man would go to shape the future of Rome. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life of Lucius Cornelius Sulla. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more fascinating stories from history.